it cannot be overlooked that this is the first all-female crew in 60 years, so since 1963. They are, though, and actually, there are, like, well, come on, I mean, I'm interested to hear your thoughts, but I don't know, I'd like to hear.
Well, they are no more astronauts than I'm a ballet dancer. That is the reality of it.
They would have had to train.
2 days training. 2 days training. It's not the same as astronauts who've lost their lives on Challenger and things like that. This isn't a crew.
Just when you think these woke women can't get any more cringe, we then get this woman taking it to a whole new level. These women are basically the UK's version of The View. His face was priceless when she called them the first all-female space crew since 1963. The men were like, come on, calling them astronauts is a bit of a stretch, to say the least. One guy couldn't contain his laughter as he said, they are no more astronauts than I am a ballet dancer. Then she started banging on about how women have to choose between brains and beauty. Apparently, they have to reject femininity if they want to work in science. It's just pure nonsense. Plenty of women happily do both. Then she says, what about the first Vietnamese woman in space? And they had to train to go up there. Firstly, they went up to the edge of space to experience zero gravity, then came back down in around 11 minutes. They had 2 days of training, and that's it. Her opponent brilliantly said, it's hardly Neil Armstrong, is it? And to make out it's some giant leap for mankind is ridiculous. It's celebrities and their pals experiencing space tourism for billionaires. Not deterred by the dismissal of her silly arguments, she finished off with, this is a giant leap forward for womankind. The whole thing is just cringe. Take a listen.
However, what I will say is, it cannot be overlooked that this is the first all-female crew in 60 years, so since 1963. They are, though, and actually, there are, like, well, come on, I mean, I'm interested to hear your thoughts, but do you know what I love about it? That I feel like growing up, you're made to almost feel like you have to choose beauty or brains. If you want to be taken seriously, you almost have to, like, reject femininity and, you know, not wear makeup, not wear sexy clothing if you want to, like, dominate male fields. And I love seeing this for, like, the STEM. There's an amazing astronaut I follow called Katy, I think she's called, and she is that all feminine, you know, loves her, like, hair extensions and her makeup, and she goes up into space. And I think it's so cool for young girls to see that they can go up to space in STEM.
That is something different altogether. That's someone who's studied there. I've interviewed many astronauts. Samantha Christopher Retti's unbelievable in European, you know, just European Space Agency. That's something you aspire to. She's a, you know, you become an engineer, a chemist, a fighter pilot. Right. That's a world away from this, surely.
Well, there are two. I don't know, I'd like to hear.
Well, they are no more astronauts than I'm a ballet dancer. That is the reality of it.
They would have had to train.
2 days training. 2 days training. It's not the same as astronauts who've lost their lives on Challenger and things like that. This isn't a crew. This is a group of people having fun. This is Jeff Bezos does Uber. Katy Perry upon landing says, oh, I'm full of love. Well, I can think you might have been full of something else. Look, good luck to them. I'm glad they landed safely. Glad they landed safely.
Would you not have done it? Would you not have done it? If you got asked to do it, I think
it's obscene.
You wouldn't have said hashtag 50.
This is the only argument I've ever seen for higher taxation of rich people. Because I don't actually support the idea of higher taxation.
The liberal Ferrari.
And there are people, as you rightly said, in desperate need of money. And what has been achieved? It's 11 minutes up and down. Look, they're home safely. That's the most important. But the idea this is some great step forward for mankind. This is not exactly Neil Armstrong, is it? Let's be honest. I'm glad it all went well, but let's spend the money where it's needed.
The first Vietnamese woman in space?
Well, that's great. I mean, in space. But again, she trains for 2 days. She's not an astronaut.
I think
astronauts has done.
It's tricky. You don't necessarily. It's not those 6 people's fault that they think it's an opportunity up. And I'm very much. I think if people have the money, they should have the right to spend the money in any way, shape, or form. But we do have a situation where, like all over the world, we're seeing strife and poverty and war and famine. And you have a situation where that level of wealth is concentrated so high, especially in America where it's so visible.
Carnegie, the philanthropist, built libraries. We now do space travels for rock stars. What does that tell you about how the world's evolved? Everything, doesn't it?
I do think as well, if these billionaires want to see women up in space, they should do like more for progression, like more funding for women in STEM, making it easier for young girls who might look to this. Because let's be honest, if Katy Perry wasn't on that ship, would so many of us be talking about it? So therefore, would
If
some
it was
little
ordinary
girls.
people on there,
Exactly,
would we be talking about this
Exactly.
situation?
So I do think, you know, this is one thing. It's space tourism. It is what it is, and I do actually fully agree with you. Which I hate it when I do that. But I do think, you know, there should be. We should be also able to highlight the women doing the work behind the scenes, and you know, I'd like to see Bezos improve accessibility for aerospace careers for women, because that's where progress happens, and that would be a step forward for womankind.
100%.
Okay, let's stay on womenkind, shall we? Let's stay on